Hello world, welcome back to the channel. So I recently just found an interview of Stephen Breadman Edwards, which is the head trainer of Caleb Plant, and he talks about the fight tonight versus Resendez and what would be different if there was to rematch. He also gave insight on what he would do next in camp. Guys, let me know what you think about this. Thanks to Sean Zattel for this interview as well.
Move forward. That's it.
Brett, what do you think? I mean, you haven't had any time to watch the tape or really reflect, but what would Caleb have to execute in a rematch, and how confident are you that he could he could reverse the outcome of tonight?
I think that he could. I would like to get carte blanche this next camp and just be able to do everything that I wanted to do, from top to bottom. I started training Caleb in 2022. So he was 30 years old. It was after the Canelo fight. So, I could remember a lot of trainers hating on Freddie Roach, and they would say stuff like, well, he's already getting ready-made guys. He's already getting guys like Pacquiao. Pacquiao's already a phenom, and they would be kind of like hating behind the scenes. He keeps winning Trainer of the Year. And I always used to say, that's the hardest thing in the world to do, is to get a guy that's already been to the top and he's coming off a loss, and you got to rebuild him because he's already set in his ways. And then when you're training him, he's going to have his own ideas. He's going to have like, well, coach, we did it this way and we got to this part. And then you're rebuilding their confidence because they come into you because they got a loss already. So that's much more difficult. The easiest thing to do is you get a guy that's a ball of clay or a blank canvas with some talent, and there's nobody else, and you could just work with him and you, and y'all could get to grow together. I would rather do that any day of the week. And I love training Caleb. I'm not saying that in a bad way, but what I'm saying is just it's difficult because he already has certain things down, and you have to conform. You can't talk to a 30-year-old man the way you talk to an 18-year-old kid that comes in the gym. When he might say, all right, I like to spar 100 rounds in camp. I don't want to, and I'm just giving you hypotheticals. I'm not saying these are things that he said, but it's a lot more difficult. When I first started training Caleb, he had just got stopped by Canelo. He was off a whole year, and then he was in the ring with a big puncher, Anthony Durrell. That was not no easy camp.
And I get exactly what Breadman is saying right there. Definitely get, because you can't talk to a kid, who's already pro, who's already rich, the same way you would talk to an 18-year-old guy. I mean, it just won't happen. But listen what else Breadman had to say here.
I don't want to say it publicly. I gotta respect Caleb. I gotta respect Caleb. I gotta respect everything. I just don't want to say it publicly, because if I say it publicly, it could kind of get misconstrued, and they'll say, well, whatever I say, they're gonna say, well, he wasn't doing this, so he wasn't doing that. And it's really not about that. I would just have to have carte blanche, because now we're not gonna be fighting Resendez. We're gonna be fighting Resendez time 2, because he's gonna be so confident. And the next time he fights Caleb, he's gonna think he can stop Caleb. So it's gonna be a very, very hard fight. And
that's a harder fight, I think.
It's gonna be a harder fight. The one thing I will say is I want to bring in the kind of sparring partners that I want to bring in. You know what I'm saying? There's a certain kind of sparring partner for a certain kind of guy. I want to bring in the guys that I would want to bring in, and that will be the number one thing. I'm not going to talk about anything else, but that would be, we would have to get a certain kind of guys to just deal with the pressure coming down the stretch. You know what I mean? The gym is for where you make your mistakes at. We have to get certain kind of guys to push him past that threshold of getting past, because Caleb is money. Caleb probably the best 4 or 5 round fighter in the fucking world. But once the fatigue starts setting in, you're running out of ideas, and the guys keep putting pressure, then that's where we had some trouble. So I would want to be able to get past that, and if we get past that, we could handle Resendez. But like I said, it's going to be a much harder fight next time, because he was humble. He worried me all week, bro. I'm telling you. He was humble. He was talking about his baby, and he just had a real even demeanor. And I was just like, fuck, man. I kept telling Caleb's like, we got a fucking fight. Don't think this is a party. I kept saying it over and over in camp. You can ask Rich Barrientos and Tony Brady. I'm like, this boy is coming to fight, man. I'm telling y'all, don't fucking take this guy. And